Yellow.
Yellow.
What's up? You here to debate?
Yeah, I'm here to debate.
All right. What topic?
The topic was the once again the systemic racism.
Okay.
I was wondering, do you include Caucasians with that?
No. There's no systemic
No.
racism against white people.
Okay. Also not in a positive way,
I'm sorry?
as in positive racism, the same that Asians sometimes face. That all Asians are meant to be good with math.
That's not systemic racism. That wouldn't be
It's still
systemic.
racism.
But my point there that just like racism exists, or that systemic racism is real?
Okay. No. Okay. Fine. Then my question was basically how do I put this? The racism isn't in the fact of group versus group, more how do I put this? Sorry, English isn't my first language.
You're good. Take your time.
One thing leads to another that makes it harder for certain groups. To give an example, people in poverty, I'm just going to group people at the moment, have to go to a school within the local neighborhood that is often also included with young members affiliated with crime, which brings them into contact with people with crime, which brings them into the possibility of joining said crime organization, getting convicted, having to fill out a form every time they want a job that says, yes, I have a felony, right?
Sure.
Now, the problem is that form, right? That's the reason that they cannot get a job, because the job does not want them to be a felon.
Sure.
This does not expire, so if they commit it when they're 18, they are stuck with it until they retire, until they die.
Yep. I'm just waiting for the linking here into how this
Right.
links into the point.
Yeah. So my point was being that the majority of people that are I'm trying to word this very carefully, that are overrepresented in that classification are members of the African American community.
Correct, because of historically racist policies that shoveled them into poor, crime-ridden neighborhoods. Yep, the
So
wealth gap exists because
it's a
of
never,
white supremacy.
never-ending circle, right?
It's not never-ending, but it is currently still in practice.
Right. But yet there is very little being done to change this. In the past, we had Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks to stand up against these practices.
Yeah, we have people like that now. We have people like Ibram X. Kendi. We have like plenty of anti-racists who fight policy, right? The difference is nothing's happening on a systemic level currently to fix these systemic issues that cause these problems. I genuinely don't know what would. I'm gonna need the plane landed soon because I don't know what point you're trying to make.
The point I'm trying to make is that if it was such a major issue, wouldn't more out of those communities be up in arms?
Yep, they are.
Not physically, but also verbally, also do stuff like keep their kids from school.
Why would they
try to
keep
get
their
into
kids
the
from school?
communities.
So that their
do?
kids would have worse outcomes if they just don't send their kids to school, or so that they can get arrested for neglect. Like, what? You're saying black parents should now risk neglect charges because it's illegal to like not send your kid to school.
One, I never really mentioned black people. I said people from low income, but sure, if you want to put it over
Is the
that way.
conversation not about systemic racism?
It is systemic racism, but it's systemic
Okay.
racism that is
And people
being
for
held.
instance, in America, people who are of lower income or lower wealth typically happen to be black. Disproportionately, they are black people. Black Americans'
Right.
household wealth is like
I didn't want to
$14,000, while a white
didn't
American's
want to
household
say
wealth
it
is
like that because
190,000.
that is playing into systemic racism, right?
Nope. Acknowledging that disparities exist does not play into systemic racism. It's acknowledging that these disparities exist, right? We can't do anything about the disparities if we pretend they're not there.
Right. Okay. But yeah, I didn't want to classify just one class within, oh sorry, one group within the community, right?
Well,
So that
it's not like classing one group. It's noticing disparities and acknowledging disparities.
right, but I mean there were also a lot of Hispanic in that class too.
Mm-hmm. Hispanic wealth would be a little higher than black wealth, yes.
Yeah. My point with being is that it's caused by the system and not people trying to keep you down, right? It's legalization rather a whole.
Okay, so you would say that the racism is caused by the system.
The racism is caused by the system. That needs to change. It's not
Okay, so
people
it's systemic
people's
racism.
outlook that needs to change.
So it would be systemic racism, like what I said it is. Not to be that guy, but like the point is literally that systemic racism is real. That's literally the point that I have there. That's what number 4 is. So yeah, racism is caused by a systemically racist system that's put into place by white supremacy and upheld by white supremacy. Yeah, I agree with all of this.
I mean, yeah, but it's not like people of the lower communities that experience it go and want to be, well, no, they want to be. How do I put this? It's how do I put it? The people need to rise up in a way that their voices are heard, and I see less of that than 30 years ago,
Wait,
40 years ago.
I think because you don't see like a Martin Luther King or a Malcolm X would be disregarding the massive amounts of work that are undergone in black neighborhoods. The litany of organizations that exist to like help with disparities in black neighborhoods. Like, right? Just because you
Right,
don't
but
see them doesn't mean that they don't exist. Just because
no,
there's
no,
not
no.
a Martin Luther King of this generation. Because you know what happened to the
I
last
see.
Martin Luther King? They shot and the CIA shot and killed him.
Yeah,
So yeah, it
I,
doesn't.
I know my history. Malcolm X the same. Um, what I'm just trying to get at is that it's the you know what? Yeah, I can't formulate the words to really debate on this. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, all right, no problem.
Mind if I take another topic, or would you rather someone else?
Go nuts.
I would like to okay, maybe this is not more a debate, but how do you see capitalism is harmful? I've heard you talk about bringing the power of what is it? The power of possession of factories to the workers, not to big corporations, right? Or
So that would be what I'd strive for as somebody who is into socialism and communism, right? We want to give the workers the
mhm.
ownership of the means of production because the workers are the ones contributing the labor. So their wages are being stolen by the people in power, the profit that they're generating. But capitalism would be harmful because of the way capitalism treats the global South, right? The only reason capitalism works in the United States is because of the millions of people that we either put into abject poverty, we starve, and we kill in order to maintain our resources, in order to maintain capitalist resources in this part of the globe. We can look at countries like Guatemala, we can look at countries like Venezuela, Chile, Cuba. We can look at what's going on in the Congo right now. Like the global South has been like decimated by American imperialism. So when we mention capitalism being harmful, that's where that comes from. Just that U.S. imperialism is kind of has been paramount in forcing people into their into subjugation for their own resources.
So okay, so the capitalism is harmful for the countries that are being misused for their natural resources.
Correct.
So it has nothing to do with the fact that when support is sent to countries, that the country's governments are using the same capitalism to say, hey, we're going to increase the taxes on said resources.
No, it doesn't matter about these resources being sent, like aid being sent to these countries. Right? If we look at the history of these countries have been stripped for their natural resources for fucking hundreds of years. Sending them a little bit of aid isn't going to do anything. Putting them in charge of their own country and not sending in fascist dictators when America gets a little mad that a country votes in a socialist leader is, going to be sort of the linchpin here. We can look at like Cuba, or not Cuba. We can look at Chile. So Chile democratically voted in Salvador Allende, and then the U.S. backed Pinochet. Pinochet did a coup, and now then Cuba had a fascist leader, right? A leader who would be
Yeah.
pulled into America because America wanted to maintain their interests in the mining operations over in Chile.
Mm-hmm. But that's so. Are we differentiating between capitalism as a whole, or just American capitalism, or
Well, so other countries do this. America does it the most.
yeah? And we're saying because I mean, Netherlands has done it with the spice trade back in 1600. The
Yep.
UK,
Any
same
any
period of time.
capitalist country is going to do it imperialism because the motive of capitalism is to expand in profits, and you can't expand profits without expanding to other regions and like increasing your production, right? So in order to increase this production, they tend to expand into countries that have the resources they need to increase that production, and they try to get those resources for as little money as possible, right? Capitalism is just a profit over people model, and I think a profit over people model is harmful, especially in a world where we have enough resources to
Okay.
feed, housing, and clothe everybody.
And how would a different system be any less harmful?
Yep, because socialism would not put the power into private business owners. It would put the power into the workers. And the workers are going to make
Mm-hmm.
better decisions for everybody. The workers collectively together. So, for instance, if we give the workers the means of production in a country like Chile, where they now have control over their mining operations, they're not going to sell America all their resources and get no money in return, right? Because they now own those resources. They own that means of production. They own the mining, right? Whereas right now
Right,
the
but
mining is owned by a fascist government who's giving America whatever they want for some kickbacks, but without pushing any of that back down to the people that are actually working in those mines. This is how socialism would do this better.
hmm so now you have a mine owned by the people, right? Um, that mine, I've still yet to find someone who can eat pure ore or pure coal or whatever. That needs to be translated into a means of bread, electricity, water, etc. Right, basic needs.
Yep, they would just sell the resources like we do now. They can still
Right.
just sell those resources to people that want to buy them.
Right. And then the person who wants to buy them, of course, wants to get the cheapest price.
Yep, but when you are the beholder of those resources, you kind of dictate the market price, right? So America wants to go, well, we want to buy copper, and they go, well, this is the only copper mine. What are you going to do? They kind of have to buy copper from the copper mine. They can't. Where else are they going to get the copper, right?
Right, but it's not the only copper mine.
America gets like 70% of its resources is copper from Chile.
Right, but as I said, that is mine one of so many out of Chile, right? Because
Yeah,
there are
because
multiple mines over the whole of Chile. They're all put sorry, all the people own the deeds to that land. They own the copper.
yeah, no, we
So
would not allow people to own the deeds to resources. Yeah, no, that wouldn't be a thing in socialism. You cannot own. You
they own.
cannot privately own the means of production. So yeah, if one of the resources that your country exports is copper, you cannot privately own the copper mines. It's just not a thing you can do.
No, but as the whole people, right? So all the people own all the copper mines. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the means of production are owned by the workers, the collective as a whole. The workers would be like, are classified as basically anyone outside of the 1%. They would be the workers.
Yeah. So those workers now own those mines. I'm just trying to find out how you stop that workers A are against workers B, because they both own a copper mine.
What do you mean workers A against workers B? What are you talking about?
So Chile is a big country. I can't travel through Chile by foot in one day, or by car, or by. So those mines are not one collective mine. It's not. Think of it like one shop in a shopping mall. It's spread over the whole country. The people who work the mine, who collect all the ore, those are the workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So those workers in the south part of Chile want to eat. The workers in the north part of Chile want to eat. Do they then come together and say, oh, we're all going to say we sell our copper for X amount of money? Or is it, hey, we really want to eat, we really want to sell.
You have two mines. You have two mines. Those mines would just be folded together to be to be one group, right? The mines wouldn't be two separate mines. Like the workers of each mine would collectively own both mines, right? This is how it works. Otherwise, you're going to put indirect competition with each other. Socialism already makes
right.
not strides, but they already make rules for this.
So all the workers own all the copper mines. Okay, so
yes, you can't have one place try to monopolize under socialism.
Yeah. So the all the copper mines are basically one pooled resource.
Yes, the resources that are necessary to run a country will typically be folded into like one resource, and then the workers would own that, usually via nationalization. So Chile would like a country like Chile would like nationalize its mines, and the workers would be in charge of that nationalized production model.
And with nationalizing government.
Well, yeah, because you can't have you can't have a private mine, so you can't privately own anything. I don't know what's confusing about this.
Sorry, it's translation terminology. English is my first language.
I got
once
you.
Again. But then you would also need to have a government over all countries that have copper mines.
Nope.
Because they'll go to a different country that.
Yeah, if America wants to go to another country, they will. Let them. Fine, great, cool. But there are countries that still trade with Chile outside of America that would still trade with Chile outside of America, right? Like, if America decides, hey, we want to get our copper from somewhere else, okay, go get your copper from somewhere else. But you're gonna be like getting your copper. You're gonna have to try to find a place that mines copper like Chile does.
Right, but then America buys up all that resource or most of it, because they're taking 70% from Chile. They want to take, most of it from the place that's cheaper.
If America, right, doesn't prevent socialist countries from plopping up, then what we're actually going to see is more countries go to a socialist model, right? Right now, most countries don't because they don't think it'll work for them. So most countries allow for like fascist capitalists to be in charge of their country, right? Again, we can just look directly at Latin America, right? America knew that it couldn't just stop Chile in Latin America, right? Because other socialist countries were popping up. And if a socialist country pops up, it's going to lead to the other countries wanting to be socialist. So what they did was they said, okay, well, we're going to have to violently stop all of these socialist countries from popping up. Therefore, you saw America interfering in like fucking damn near every Latin American country they've had their hands in the pot of, right? That's just how capitalism works. Capitalism inherently has to get everything. Otherwise, it's going to get nothing.
Yeah, okay. I'm following you up to now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the point I'm trying to get to is that people are always going to go for the cheapest price, right? If you can get it for cheaper, you're going to go for that.
So why doesn't America leave? For instance, why doesn't America leave some of these places alone and try to go? Why instead of here? Let's even dive into this. When Allende took over and nationalized the mining industry in Chile, why instead of just going to get their, because they could have just gone to another place for copper, right? And just said, oh hey, well if you sell it to us for cheaper, we'll buy it from you now instead of Chile. But they didn't, because they needed the mines in Chile. That's where they needed that industry. So instead, what they did is they instilled violent coups in Chile. Right? They could have gone somewhere else. They didn't. We already know that this isn't the case. We already know that they are only going to get it from one place, and that one place being Chile. Right? That's where they're going for this specific resource. Right? Otherwise, they would have gone and got it from another one when Chile did this, when Allende took power. But they didn't. They violently destroyed the Allende administration.
Okay, yeah. So the USA did that, but the USA is not capitalism as a whole. The USA is the USA.
The USA is the global leader in maintaining worldwide capitalism. The USA will destroy any hint of socialism or communism that it gets whiff of, because if it doesn't, the USA is at risk. So they maintain capitalism worldwide. This is why they went into Vietnam. It's why they went into Korea. It's why we went into Iraq. It's why we went into Venezuela. It's why we went into Cuba, tried to go into Cuba. It's why we went into Honduras. It's why we went into Puerto Rico. It's why we went into Haiti. Like, there's so many. There's so many that we went into because we know that if any country is socialist, it's a risk to us. It's a risk to the United States as a whole. If the workers can see a socialist country maintain the means of production and not be forced into abject poverty by the owner class, right? They know those workers are going to rise up, and so they try to stop that in any way, shape, or form that they can. And this is all admitted, by the way. Like, the CIA admits to doing all of this.
Oh yeah, I know the documents. I've seen the documents. That's yeah. It's I mean, this is, giving me alien movie vibes. Oh, there's no place but USA. But I see what you're coming from the standpoint of, hey, the USA being the leader in the capitalist market is basically capitalism personified. Do you think the same would happen if we take the USA out of the picture?
Unless there's another global superpower willing to do it. I mean, there have been, right? The USSR imploded from the inside. When we look at, well, there was American influence, but their capitalist revolution came from the inside, from people who wanted to bring in a capitalist market because they wanted control, right? So the USA said, "Oh, we'll help you do that." right? So actually, maybe it
No,
wouldn't have
no.
happened in the USSR without the USA, because I don't know that the capitalist revolution in the USSR would have had the backing that they did had it not been for the USA backing them. So I don't know. I don't know of another country that's doing it like the U.S. does, where they will like help any administration that they see can overthrow socialism. So maybe not.
So if and let's put it in a different light. Are there no negativities to socialism?
There are negatives to any system. I'm not going to claim socialism is perfect, right? But
No, okay.
that's just saying we shouldn't get rid of how terrible capitalism is for the world because socialism may
No,
have
no, no,
some
no.
negatives.
That wasn't my point. I
Okay.
just wanted to hear that
Yeah,
you
there is
you
no such
also
thing
see
as a perfect
example.
system, right? But I want to look at which system would engage in like harm reduction and giving the workers control over the profits that they earn. Probably going to be less harmful than giving that to 1% of people.
Right. And how does socialism handle stuff like being handicapped, being unable to work,
We would handle it
retired?
probably mostly the same way we do now. Socialism isn't devoid of a market. So we would just do it the same way. We would make social programs for people that can't afford these things, and they would probably be more expansive because the workers would be the ones controlling those social programs. I'm more willing to give out of my paycheck if I'm the one if I'm giving the money to like people who need it, right? Right? Like we just do it that way. So I wouldn't see much of a
But
change for a change of this, except probably these programs would get expanded.
so you agree that people paying for Obamacare was fine?
That people paying? What do you mean people paying for about like people paying for health
Um,
insurance?
so people paying for others' insurance, like that
That's
was
how
part of
insurance.
the
That's how
plan
all
with
insurance
Obamacare.
works. That's how every works this way. You pay into a pot that people use when they need it, and then you use when you need it. You already people pay for other people's insurance, right? What's the issue with just expanding that nationally so that the pot is bigger, and you're probably going to be paying less because we're going to be cutting out the fat of the middleman. Like in America, at least, like 40% of all insurance costs are just administrative fees. We cut out the administrative bloat, and we can even look at this differently. America is spending more for less quality healthcare, right? So clearly the privatized healthcare system isn't working. We spend about 12,000 per person and we don't get free healthcare where Canada spends 6,000 per person and at least their healthcare is free. At least it's free at the point of service. And you don't get turned away because you don't have insurance and can't afford the treatment. So you have to risk going into the ER and spending a major ER bill just to get seen for something, right? So I would just say any industry that is required for people to live, so healthcare, housing, food, water. I think all four of these should be nationalized and given to everybody, full stop. Because A, we have the resources to do it, and B, I think the role of government should be in that making sure their citizens' basic needs are met. Everything else we can like hash out, but I think these four things should be nationalized and should be given to everybody.
Housing, I
Call
would
me a
disagree on
housing you would disagree on. Why is that?
because you have to differentiate in housing, right? Based on family size.
Yep, you would get your needs, right? If I have a family of four, I'm not going to get the same house as somebody who's a single person, right? It's
Right.
you just give based on needs.
But
But when it comes to housing, we have all the houses we're going to need, right? In America specifically, there are 600,000 houseless people in America. Take just a shot in the dark how many unoccupied houses there are in the country.
I
Just a
would
shot in the dark.
have to shut in the dark a quarter of the amount.
There are 16 million unoccupied houses in America. We can house everybody. It would take us virtually nothing. The HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, only estimates that we would need $20 billion a year to end homelessness in America. We spend $1 trillion on our military budget. We could end houselessness tomorrow if we wanted to, but we don't because housing is a commodity. The Wall Street owns 41% of all housing in America, right? Housing is a commodity. There's a profit incentive to it. So nobody has any incentive to give housing away, right? Because it's on a for-profit model. This is why I think industries like housing should be nationalized, and we should remove the for-profit element of housing. That way we can give the people that are unhomed homes.
But you're talking about giving people homes.
Yes, I would give everybody homes. You got a mortgage right now, your mortgage is forgiven. You paying rent? Not no more. Yes, I would give people these homes. If we have the resources to do it, the only reason not to do it is because we want to generate a profit. We have the resources.
Wouldn't that bankrupt banks?
Wouldn't that bankrupt banks? I'm not going to cry about a bank going bankrupt, right? We can work all that out pretty easily, right? We can make sure banks stay above water. We do it all the time anyway. Anytime a bank fucks up because they overdo it when it comes to housing, we bail them out anyway. But how about this time when we bail them out, we get something in return?
Right. The stuff that they can't pay, we get back. Right.
Again, if we didn't have the resources to do this, I'd probably have a different tone. But we have the resources necessary to do all of this. Right? The only reason we don't is money.
Money, root of all evil, right?
I'd argue it probably is.
Should we go back? I mean, I know this isn't on your list, and you probably want to give someone else a call in. Should we go back to a trading economy based on solely goods?
As somebody who wants to eventually reach communism, let's do it. I'd be so happy to be done with money. That's what we believe in anyway. We believe in a stateless, moneyless, classless society when it comes to communism. So I'm totally fine with us moving back to a trade and barter system, right? I don't think we need money at all. I don't even know that we necessarily need trade as much either. But I'm totally fine with that. I have no issues with us wanting to go back to. This is what Marx writes anyway, is that the need for money in the terms of a state controlled currency won't be needed in a communist system. We won't need a state controlled currency.
Okay. And then my last question, and then I'll free up the lines. And thank you very much for this debate.
For sure.
Some people probably think, oh, this isn't a debate, but I've got some insights, and I've enjoyed our talk. What is stopping when the means of production are in workers' hands, in a collective's hands? I'm just going to put it like that. People putting down their work and saying, I'm not going to work anymore.
Well, you wouldn't be provided for. The rule of thumb when it comes to capitalism is from each according to their ability, to each according to their need. If you don't work, if you don't help in whatever you are capable of helping, right, to whatever ability you can,
right,
you're not going to be given
stuff. I'm just saying, I don't want to make toilet paper for the rest of my life. I'm gonna,
You don't have to. Go make something else.
Stop working in toilet paper factory that we own.
Yeah, go do something else. People are gonna do the jobs that are there, right? There are people who like working in factories. It's the thing that they're good at. It's the thing they like to do. They'll still do that. There are people who like being garbage men. They're gonna still do that, right? The jobs will get done, and if they're being collectively done by the community, right? If somebody said, hey, instead of working 40 hours in an office every week, if you do 4 hours out in the farm, that's it for your weekly duties. Most people are going to be like, sure, yeah, absolutely. And then I get the rest of the time to myself? Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks. That's a few of my questions answered. Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a good day, evening. whatever it is there.
You as well.